Controversy.
Welcome, sexy Wookiees, to another episode of the Sexy Wookiee Squadcast. Today we're reading Star Wars Death Star by Michael Reeves and Steve Perry. This week's chapters are 16 through 30. That's no moon, it's a space station. Did I say that last week?
You might have.
Son of a bantha. It's your boy, Sexy Leader.
Hey, your girl, sexy one.
It's your simp, sexy too.
Let's go.
I'm getting some good. I think I wrote that one down, actually. Son of a bantha. Yeah. See? Actually wrote it down. I love
I
that one.
started wheezing when I read that. I was like, of all the things to say,
I'm like, I gotta
It's the
save that.
best. It's the best.
what's
It's up
better,
there with
Holy
Holy
Moons?
Moons. It's
Holy
it's
Moons
up
or
there.
Son of a bantha.
Yeah. I'm definitely learning some great phrases in these
I was like,
books.
I'm sure the word bastard exists. I'm just like, wouldn't you? I don't know. Anyway,
Anyways.
ears are on. Let's get going. I feel so stupid. All right. This is the longest intro ever. So without training, Tila was able to block out Vader's thoughts. What did you think about that? Like, were you impressed? Were you like, no way, this person who just no training, no anything, just creativity was like black.
I liked it. I immediately was like, oh, thank goodness it's a return, not a return, but this was back in the old days before everybody has the Force, everybody could be a Jedi, blah, blah, blah. So this was back when the rule was you could probe a mind if it was a weak-minded person. And that's the only way mind tricks worked and this kind of deal. But anybody who was like really stubborn or strong-minded could resist that sort of thing. So and I think Obi-Wan says it at some point to Luke in A New Hope that it only works on those with a weak mind or something. But you know, that's how it was. And so that's what this is. He even makes sure to point out, like, he doesn't feel that she has control of the Force, that's not it. She's just a really strong-minded person who can put up a defense like that. So I like that there is a sort of a defense that non-Force users could have, and that there is a kind of just a natural way to protect yourself if you want to strictly go predator and prey kind of nature terms, that you've got this super predator Force users that could manipulate anybody's minds. But then there are people with the natural ability. They're just strong-minded enough to block that out, to protect themselves. So yeah, I was like, oh, she's good for her. I liked it. I was like, yes.
I didn't get to think of the probing part, like you said, and I like how you said defense. Those are really good things to think about if people are reading along, or even if I'm reading now. But those are awesome. I like both of those. I didn't think of it anyway. It's just I knew this person didn't have I didn't think of this person having the Force in any sense. And then like you said, like I think I was just like, oh, maybe they're not. It's when you don't realize something, or when something, you know, like you're not even thinking of the Force or anything like that. I think that was the defense for me as I read it. But also, before you had said your answer, I was just like, maybe she's like weak-minded to not even think of that. But maybe it's just something that I think that it didn't concern her, so I don't really care. I'm only focused on what I'm looking at. But what kind of creeped me out a little bit was how like Vader was so attracted to that, and why he was so I don't know, not adamant about pursuing it, but like he really wanted to pursue like what was going on over there. So that was kind of interesting to me while I read
Probably
it.
unusual to encounter somebody that resistant, I would say. He's even just like, heck, even most of the like higher up officers in the Empire who you think would be, you know, really strong-minded people, he was like, even that I can, you know, read their thoughts, and they're weak. They're actually weak and scared. And so here's this nobody, this slave, basically prisoner, that has enough internal strength to actually put up a fight against the probing. So I think that he probably doesn't encounter that too often. Maybe Tarkin.
Yeah, I mean, especially like reading this book, a lot of people are just like, oh, the Force, basically, whatever that is, like, it's just this weird magic thing. So a lot of them like don't even know it or understand it. So reading that with her, I was like, damn, good on you. Power of the mind really is a magical thing. I mean, you guys know me. One of my focuses in college was psychology because I love psychology. I love the mind. The mind is a freaky place. It's very interesting. So when I was reading that all she had to do was literally picture a mental block, and I was like, that's good.
Exactly.
That's really smart.
Like actually visualize a physical thing almost.
And something just so simple, and it worked.
Yeah, I really appreciated that it told us how she did it, and without even knowing it, that how she felt about it. And as somebody you guys know, and maybe someday our audience will know, I have tried to write a Force probe mind scene, and trying to get in the head of that character, you're like, oh, how would it feel to them, and how would they react, and would it be scary, would they put up defenses, would they even realize it was happening? So it was interesting to read this now and be like, oh yeah, like she could feel it, and then it says she had always had a vivid imagination and was able to picture just blast doors closing. And I was like, that's so good. Yeah, I know, like dealing with anxiety and stuff, that it really helps to physically picture something comforting, and or to, if you're trying to get rid of something, that to picture it leaving or burning up or dissolving or something, that kind of imagery is, powerful, then it will protect you mentally. So to see her utilize that in this setting, I was like, oh, interesting.
Any other thoughts on that?
No.
All right, so next question. Tarkin said that while effective, Vader's methods were harsh. Do you guys think his methods are fine? Are there better ways to do it? What do you think? What are your thoughts on? Dude just straight up was like dead. Spread the word.
I felt so sad. I feel like every time it describes somebody as just like an old man, this, just kind of poor old man, I always picture my dad. And so I'm just like, oh, Vader, why? Why would you have to do that?
Vader, what the heck?
I don't know, because my dad's just like he looks like Santa Claus. He's just like an old man. And so every time it's just like some, poor old man. And I was like, oh, this poor officer, and he didn't even do anything.
So not only are you picturing your dad, you're picturing Santa Claus. That's just terrible.
Yeah, I know, like a combination of Vader choking Santa Claus. I'm sorry. So yeah, I didn't like it. I understand the idea of intimidating the remaining prisoners with the threat of this is what may happen to you, but it doesn't mean you actually have to do it. You could have just told the officers, hey, talk about me killing this guy, and then meanwhile send him down to despair. He'll be a guard down there, which is basically punishment enough. But why waste a decent officer at that point? It does seem inefficient, wasteful, but the fear tactic, yes, that is effective. I just don't think you have to actually kill the guy to scare the rest of them. So yeah, but I mean, I guess it scared all the officers that witnessed it, but you know what? They're scared of Vader anyway. Like, they don't need this demonstration. I don't know. I didn't like it.
Well, first note, check out the color of Megan's shirt. It's red, Santa. And but check it out. Show them the design, because I know that shirt. And then exactly. So I mean, no, I had a different perspective on it. I liked it. When he choked the officer, it reminded me of every scene he's done in the movie. This is why Vader is the most feared out of all villains, because even, I mean, I haven't read any other books of all the other villains, but Vader, he won't even hesitate to just, it's, he said, you should have known because that was your job.
Mhm.
And like that, it's not without question. He said that after Tarkin questioned him. So it's like, yeah, it's a good use of example to everybody. I think if Vader and Luke never came along, Vader would have been the most feared throughout the galaxy, if nothing ever, if his son never came along.
Mhm. Well, I had to agree with Tarkin. Wow, I'm agreeing with Tarkin a lot. Thanks for this book. I know.
You
I
and
know. That's
Tarkin.
good. I know. You know what? I think it would make a cool, like, I'd be his cool sidekick. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I could picture it. Okay, in one of the Sexy Wookiee adventures, we're gonna have to go back, and you and Tarkin are gonna have to have an adventure together.
She'll be like the really calm person, and then I'll just be like the really erratic raccoon friend, basically.
If he likes Dala, he'd probably like Mina.
Yeah.
I think
Like
so.
He'll adopt her.
he would. He'd adopt Mina. I think. Yeah, I think he'd be impressed with her.
So for the listeners, I was just telling them I had. So sometimes I just have the weirdest dreams. I don't know what happens. My
She
mind is-
internalizes all the things we read.
So I had a dream that I was Vader's assistant, and basically Tarkin and Dala unofficially adopted me, and chaos and funniness ensued. But
I just love that your adopted parents, Tarkin and Dala, let you work for Vader.
I don't know if they met me because I work for Vader.
Oh, they've
or-
probably got you there to keep an eye on him.
Oh, probably.
It's probably all part of the plan, like 'cause with this Vader Tarkin thing. I'm
I don't
making
know, but
sense of these dreams.
I love my space dad. He was hilarious. But I have to agree with him. I think that it's harsh, and kind of going back to like the mind is a weird but interesting place. I wouldn't, if I were in Vader's shoes, I wouldn't just be killing everybody, because then it's just like, oh, dead, whatever, next. Instead, do mind tricks on them, like just mess them up.
Serious.
Because what's worse, just dying or having to live the rest of your life, you know, messed up because of whatever Vader did to you? Scare tactics, you know, you were
Yes.
functioning just enough, you could keep working, but at the snap of a finger, your mind could, like, I don't know, implode or something without actually killing you. And I feel like that's just more scary. I feel like
Yeah.
that could get things done. I don't know. I feel like that's easier than just killing someone.
Yeah, and you'd get some information out of it.
Oh yeah, because then you could always just go back and go back to the person and be like, "Hey, I wasn't done with you yet."
Scary. I do have to say, I like that it showed kind of a normal person's reaction to Vader from a few different points of view. Because I mean, we kind of knew the Tarkin Vader dynamic, and then as far as movies go, we've got Luke's reaction to him, Leia's reaction to him, and Obi-Wan's reaction to him, and Han, who none of them seem to really be that scared of him. Nobody's that intimidated by him. And so I feel like in the movies, the first real time we got to see what an average citizen of the galaxy's reaction to seeing Vader up close is in Rogue One at the end, where he's just slicing and dicing and throwing rebels all over the place. And you're just like, that is why people are scared of him. Like, that's terrifying, because everyone else kind of treats him like, it's Vader all the time. Even like the other officers in the Empire, they'll kind of be like, oh, a little intimidated by him, but you're not entirely sure why he chokes people, I guess. But to get inside the heads of these people, so you've got Uli, who's just like, evaluating him medically. I love that that's his instinct, is to just be like, he's got an odd gait. He probably has a prosthetic limb and this suit. I wonder why they couldn't just grow a new trachea. It would have had to have been some kind of an injury like this. I just love that that's how his mind works when he looks at Vader. And then you go to Tila, who's just like, oh my gosh, it's him, and like, and she can feel him and resist him, and she's scared, and she like audibly gasps in relief when his attention is off of her, and it's just like, what an experience. And then you've got 10, who's like, oh, another military officer, but not really. He doesn't technically outrank me, so should I mess with him like we do when we walk down hall? No, on second thought, no. And just like, just all of their impressions of him, I'm like, I love this point of view, I guess, just to see, you know, what did everybody else feel when they're in the room with Vader that we don't normally see from our characters. Because these are a lot more relatable of reactions, I would think. So yeah, I just really liked how each of them were different, but just a really unique insight.
Yeah, it's really cool how even though they're all in the same place, they're all doing different things. They all just think so differently, and it just makes it so refreshing that not everyone's so afraid of Vader. Not everyone has the same mindset about the Empire. Some of them are like, yay, Empire. Some of them are like, forget this. And others are like, I just need a job.
Yeah, and the same with the approach to the Death Star, how all of them were astonished by the size of it and kind of had a different impression of like, wow, I've never seen anything. I wonder what they're going to use it for. And I feel like I'm going to be so safe stationed here and all this stuff. I like these points of view. It's just, you know, your average person coming to do a job, but seeing something that they've only ever heard of rumors about. So I like it.
Well, speaking of the average person, so we know that Mema and Roto accepted the job aboard the Death Star.
Yay.
And there were other civilians, some interesting hires. The dancer. I have to admit, I started laughing at that. I was like, oh my God, of course they would. Anyway, would you guys accept some kind of civilian job aboard the Death Star or some kind of Imperial base, whatever?
I like it. And then later we get the librarian.
Yeah.
It like just randomly now there's like some guy who's gonna come keep the archives at the library on board. And I'm just like, I guess a station this size, they would just have all these things and they need someone to do it. So why not bring in, you know, civilians? And the fact that there's even like a recruiter, like there's a whole division of recruiters that bring in civilian contractors.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like running a moon with cities inside of it. Like, of course they would have all these things. It's something you don't really think about if you're just reading or just watching the movies or playing the video games or whatever. But yeah, just average daily life kind of stuff. You got to have your entertainment, your drinks, your library, whatever. Med center. Heck yeah, I think so. Like, probably unfortunately along the lines of the dancer, like, you know, like USO kind of entertainment for the troops. I'd totally be there running a theater or something. And especially the opportunity to like the newest built, biggest in the galaxy, most high-tech, super secret. Yeah, sign me up. Like, I want to be on that ship or, you know, station or whatever it is.
Yeah, right. Good question, because I was able to prepare for this one. Yes, I would join as the two, Roto and Mima had joined, and it was amazing to me how like people can pack in 5 minutes. I was like, if I were to leave right now, could I leave in 5 minutes to go?
Some people live light.
So I was like, yeah, I was like, maybe I could. But now hearing your answer and then thinking about like the other jobs, I didn't think of other jobs, but yeah, you're right. We've read in other books that I think the Resistance had lawyers, joining as pilots. There was other occupations that were not pilots. So I'm thinking like, yeah, maybe like if I were to be an accountant on the, board the Death Star, it's probably something I'm going to choose, especially not knowing if I didn't know. So I'm thinking if I didn't know what the rebellion was and the most feared, empire in the
Yeah.
galaxy, yeah, you're going to want to join, and you're probably going to be asked, what can you contribute here? Yeah, and I like how the recruiter reminded me of even our stories, how we, that there is possible recruiters on, which, I mean, the rebellion does have recruiters. So um
Probably a little more
man,
stealthy.
yeah, I think I would definitely be doing some type of desk job, pushing papers on the Death Star, not having the greatest, like, you
Of all
know,
the things to do.
hearing alarms, and I
Dream
don't
big,
know.
Ronald.
I don't want to be bothered on the Death Star. I think
Yeah.
That's
if I was
fair.
A
somewhere
little
there,
nook with your little data pad,
with the light, and
punching
that's
some
it. That's all I
numbers.
need. That's all. But what's cool is like how you have everything provided. Like what Mimo was excited about is because when we read that she's not very into the luxury, she's not in it for really anything, and then the only really glimpse of what we see is when she takes it, is she's
Mhm,
like, oh well, it's a better, a better salary raise than what I was doing back on the underground.
mhm.
And I was just like, oh man, like I think that would just be for me too. Like as long as I'm good and everything's provided, and it's like, yeah, your one mindset is just gonna be like, okay, I want to
Yeah.
live in this place where everything's provided already
Well,
for me.
it's like when Ratua starts, sneaking around and
Mm.
is just like, oh, you just wander into the cafeteria and grab food. Like it's just free. And they've got whole sections of people that design, what was it, recycle bin,
Right, right.
recycle bins or something. Wow. They've got everything.
I mean, it'd be cool. I'm such a rebel at heart that it was kind of hard to picture it, but I was like, you know what? If I was like some of the other civilians, I probably would accept a job.
Yeah, if you were just some rando citizen.
I mean, they got a lot of stuff, and then I'm like, what skill sets do I have? And I was like, oh, I could do childcare or something because
Mm.
it's gonna be a city. We know how some military people are.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin and I, who's in the military, we're talking about this the other day about like people that he bunks with and all that. But
Yeah, they need,
and then
childcare educators.
the dancer, that's definitely an exotic dancer. And I'm like, there's gonna be a bunch of freaks up on the ship. Someone's gonna have kids. Someone's gonna need to take care of kids. So I was like, I'll do like childcare or I'll work in a bar because that would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'd want to work in Memo's bar.
Oh my gosh, I would too. I would just frequent it a lot, probably, actually.
So I'd either go into childcare or I'd apply to work at her bar. Just something cool. Like, because I'm like, oh, I'm good at like security and things like that. But I was like, no, that means being like a stormtrooper, and I definitely don't want to do that.
Oh yeah, they've got plenty of security. I think you're set.
So childcare or working in the bar or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would just be really fun.
I also liked the gym where they bring Sergeant Nova up to teach self-defense classes up there, and then I'm like, oh, I could teach Zumba.
That was going to be the next question. Would you guys take his class?
Heck yes! Oh my gosh, I love group classes at the gym. I'm that sucker that's just like, oh yeah, Pilates and then Zumba and then kickboxing, like all of it. I once was signed up for a dance studio and I did every time. I mean, this girl, it doesn't get whiter than this. And I was in hip hop. I was in like actually African dance classes, belly dance classes. Like if there is like an agenda at the gym of group classes, sign me up, especially, it's going to be like a bunch of like hot stormtroopers coming and taking it. Like, okay.
They
I mean,
can't take off their helmets though.
they're not Mandalorians.
You won't be able to see their face. They can't
Bill's
take off
there,
they can't.
so
Oh, I'm in. If Bill or Uli are
Yeah.
there, I'm in. Sign me
That's
up.
true.
exactly.
Sign me up. You know what? Can I teach an arts and crafts class? Because Ted mentioned someone who knits, and I was like, bro, I will be
yeah.
teaching all these arts and crafts stuff.
I bet they have that too.
So childcare / arts and crafts. They need
Mhm.
some kind of stress relief.
Probably. Ronald, would you take the class?
Most definitely. I grew up with the game Masters of Terrascati, so I would definitely be in that class. It's something. I mean, it's all throughout Star Wars, even till now. They even mentioned it. The last mention of it was Solo, and so definitely, that's my forte. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said, "What martial arts form would Jedi's have studied, and what would have Sith have studied?" And so, and we begin to talk about when we were talking about things in like the Mandalorian show. I was like, well, what kind of martial arts do you think that they go off of? So
Mhm.
I was like, I know a lot of the martial arts is really, that's the only one I know that's really famous in Star Wars books and video games. So yeah, I would definitely be signed up. I want to get good at it, and I
Yeah.
would definitely want to be an instructor of these martial arts too as well. So,
Ooh,
That'd
if I
be
got good
cool.
enough. You know.
that's
Nice.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely got to join his. I hate group classes. There's nothing wrong with them. Even though I would definitely teach some on the Death Star, I have anxiety, y'all. I get nervous, so that's why I like one-on-one classes. If I'm learning, I like one-on-one classes because then I don't feel so bad if I mess up. So I mean, I'd still take his class. I don't know if I'd actually. Part of me is
Volunteer
like,
to get
okay,
up and demonstrate things.
oh hell no, I'd die of embarrassment right there.
Oh,
Be
well,
like,
this should
oh,
be
these hot pilots
interesting.
are watching me do something dumb. So
Oh, no.
half of me is like, I want to learn because how cool would that be? And then the other half is like, I'd probably sit in the back and just watch everyone. I don't know.
Oh,
But I mean, it'd still be cool to like go watch his class. So I guess I joined his class. Get my ass kicked, but
at
that's
least give it a
okay.
try. Oh, well, that's interesting. I was writing the unarmed combat training in a short story right now for the Resistance. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll get a little taste of it in this book. That'll help me out. But of course, in our story, Mina is actually like the expert. So
She'll
that
teach
doesn't
you.
go
She's
so
got
well
you
with
guys.
you. I think we switched roles in the characters.
My character's so cool and badass, and I'm just really lame. So I think that's why I enjoy writing for her. All right, guys. So that was it for this week.
Oh, was it? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we got through it really quick. We
I
usually
feel like I don't even remember you asking me questions. I feel like we just rambled.
No, I asked 4 questions, but they all just
Wow.
but we seamlessly went into them. So I think that really
did.
helped. Mhm.
Well, I did write down something that, yeah, well, besides Son of a Bantha, which I love, that I was like, I have to write this down because it was when the librarian was being brought in and he's, musing about, he doesn't care, Empire, whatever, that like the reason they're getting rid of him is because he's got fail safes if they try to kill him, but they're gonna ship him off to someplace where he can't run his mouth quite as freely because he's got opinions about politics. I'm like, oh, he's basically my character. But then he says this. He says, the new rulers would start out full of promise and hope and good intentions and gradually settle into mediocrity. And I was like, he just predicted the sequel trilogy right there. I was like, that's the New Republic. That's Leia and friends, unfortunately. So sad, because I feel like the first time I read this book, I was like, no, Luke and Leia and Mon Mothma and everybody, they're going to make a new government and it's going to be just what the galaxy needed and everybody's going to get heard and taken care of and a happy ending. He was right.
Yeah.
So sad he predicted it.
That was a really interesting read when he said it's just a cycle, keeps going. And I was like, yeah, I mean, we have our own history where we can learn from that.
Right. It's cynical, but I guess it turned out to be accurate.
I mean, there's some places that are doing pretty damn good. definitely not here, but other places are doing pretty damn good. So when I read that, I was like, accurate.
But in your space opera fantasy, you can have utopia. It's just unfortunate.
You could have a utopia, but how much fun would that be to read without some kind of conflict?
Right. I agree there should be conflict, but I don't like the idea of cyclical conflict where it's just always the same,
Mhm.
that the government in power is tyrannical and that a small group of resisting fighters have to rise up and fight it. Ugh, it's just the same thing over and over again.
Well, hopefully, with the sequel trilogy, it's the end of that, and hopefully this time the new government will stick and it'll be good.
What is the new government, Ray?
I don't know, and I'm kind of scared to know. I'm just
Like,
gonna.
New
hope it's
Republic's
something
gone,
good.
First Order's gone. Like, what even is
Or
there?
New Republic, New Republic squared. I don't know.
The newer Republic.
The newer and then the newest.
The newest.
Oh
One of those
no.
what's up.
Well, I guess we'll find out because supposedly the Rogue Squadron movie is supposed to take place after the Rise of Skywalker.
So
I guess
in a
it's the
couple
only
years,
one that is set after the sequel trilogy. So I guess we'll see what the galaxy's like. Who's in
got
charge?
a few years to figure that out.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yep.
Anyway, interesting thoughts. What are our chapters for next week, Jess?
31 through 45.
31 through 45. Everything
Sure.
seems to be in place. All the characters are kind of on the Death Star now. Admiral Dalla's on the way. What could happen? Vader has left, so the pressure's off. But I have a feeling that things are just getting going. So
Hashtag Vader has left the building.
I love it. He doesn't even solve the mystery. He's just like, yeah, they don't know anything. I'm out. Bye, Tarkin. Like, and then we get that one little scene with Maudie, who's just like, nobody listens to me.
I was cracking up reading that, and I was like, I know it's supposed to be serious and everything. I was like, he just sounds like, oh my god, what was that dude from Resistance Reborn? That angry little guy.
Oh yeah,
Win-
the young guy.
Wimser. No, that's a Pokemon.
No.
Wimser.
Winbutt.
Winbutt. I'm
Win-
thinking
Windsor.
of Pokemon. Yeah, well,
Oh yeah. Yeah, he
Win-
does kind of sound like that.
whatever the hell his name
Oh.
is. He reminded me of him, and so I just started laughing. I'm like, this
Oh,
dude.
great.
I was like, this dude. Okay.
And we'll see who else, pops up, because we get these little vignettes of characters that we kind of know, and then the kind of their insight into this whole project. So I am interested to see what happens next. We are also on every other social media you've ever heard of. We've got our Twitter, we've got our Twitch, we've got our Instagram, we've got our Tumblr. This is YouTube, and then some stories. I keep saying it. It'll happen. I swear. So yeah, have some fun. Check us out all over there. Interact. We love to hear your thoughts on this book, the Empire, the Rebellion, all this stuff. Star Wars in general. Let's talk. But that is it for this week, and we will read and then discuss and see you all next week. So, Sexy Wookiees out. Sexy Wookiees.
Wookiees.